Before I get started on this review, I want to say my heartfelt condolences to the family of Robin Williams. I found out on Twitter that he actually passed away. They believe that it's apparent suicide, but right now they're not really sure. They're still investigating to make sure everything is on point when it comes to that. But it makes me sad that he is gone, because I really have really fond memories of him as a kid growing up as well as on to now. He was a really great actor. He made people laugh in every movie that he was in, even the movies that he's supposed to be serious in. He made a lot of people laugh. And I enjoyed him as an actor, and I still do to this day. And his legacy will always go on in his movies. But my condolences go out to his family as well as my prayers. God bless that man and rest in peace. On a much lighter note, I will say that it was something I kind of forgot, but nobody else did. Hulk Hogan's birthday was today. Yay, I suppose. But either or, it was nice to have Hulk Hogan celebrate his birthday on Raw, especially after such a somber moment of today. But, and it was also nice to actually, well, have all of his friends and everyone out there. But that was towards the end of the show. But I'm going to talk about the beginning. Now, the beginning was the one thing that kind of set everything, kind of set a tone for me, because of one of the biggest feuds in SummerSlam going on right now, and that is Brock Lesnar versus John Cena. Now, they've had really great video packages as well as great promos leading on up to this point. They've been in face-to-face confrontation, which has led up to a lot of heat. And honestly, these guys are dynamos on the mic, especially Paul Heyman. We all know that Paul Heyman is definitely a dynamo on the mic. This guy could promote cheese if he needed to, or foot fungus, and make you like it. Like, seriously, he can promote anything and make you like it. And when it comes to him and Brock Lesnar, oh my gosh, he can really deliver. And he delivered well in the promo with Brock Lesnar at the beginning of that match. He really, really did. And honestly, I got a lot of respect for him. I really do. And also, I have the same amount of respect for John Cena. John Cena had his response to what Paul Heyman said towards the middle of the show, towards the second half. And I have to tell you, that was a really great promo coming from John Cena. John Cena, once again, kicked down the fourth wall, because so many people on the internet are waiting for him to go heel, and he acknowledged that. I love it when they kick down the fourth wall. And he was like, so when is John Cena going to go heel? When is John Cena going to care less about the t-shirts and the armbands? And when is John Cena going to be serious? I love that. I really did. And the fact that he acknowledged that shows me that the guy's going to be serious in the match, on the pay-per-view. He is going to be serious. He is going to bring the pain, and he is going to make that match interesting. Whether or not he wins, I won't mind. Seriously, I won't mind at all if John Cena wins. I don't. People are like, well, it'll be a waste for Brock Lesnar to return. Is it really? We all know that Brock Lesnar has a second job, and the fact that he's actually in the UFC or going back to the UFC and doing other things is not going to be much of a big deal for him, because he's a part-timer. He's not a full-timer. But with John Cena, as long as the match looks good, as long as Brock Lesnar looks good doing the match, I don't think it's going to be a lose-lose. That's just me personally. If Brock Lesnar looks like he's actually jobbing to John Cena, then I can relate to what you're saying. But the fact is, if Brock Lesnar and John Cena brings the pain in both of the matches, they both bring the pain in the match, it'll be awesome for both of them. And I wouldn't mind if John Cena wins, especially after this promo, because he has to back up what he's saying. And if he can't back up what he's saying, then he looks like a fool. But I really believe that it's going to be a really great match to watch, because you got two dynamos on the mic. You got Paul Heyman and you got John Cena. They're really good on the mic, and they definitely mean what they say, because you can feel it, which means it's a great promo, and I'm really looking forward to the match at SummerSlam. But I really wasn't looking forward to anything else in the show. I really didn't care much for anything else in the show. I mean, especially when it came to Roman Reigns. Roman Reigns was against Baxel. And I really didn't care much about that either. And they're trying to have banter in the ring, shouting like, you're a loser. I didn't care. I really didn't. And I didn't care about the after match interview that Roman Reigns had, calling Randy Orton a worm. That showed me right then and there they actually turned this guy face, and I'm really disappointed to see that, because Roman Reigns was not meant to be a face. I'm sorry, he wasn't. And now that he's a face, I don't know which direction he's gonna go. Because honestly, I was smelling a double cross from a mile away. But now they actually turn Roman Reigns a face, they may just not, it may not happen. Like, there may not be a Shield reunion. And I was hoping that the Shield would actually come back, because the Shield was interesting when all three of them were there. I can't say that they're all interesting separate, but I'm not saying that they're all minor either. But they were more interesting together than they are apart. Who cares about Seth Rollins now? Because Seth Rollins, you don't really see him around the Authority that often. And not to mention the fact that Dean Ambrose kind of ripped him a new one by tearing up his contract. The one thing that's going on between those two are their feud. The feud between each other. What's going to happen when it's over? I don't know if anybody's going to care. I'm a huge Dean Ambrose fan. I like Dean Ambrose. I think Dean Ambrose has a lot to offer. Not only that, the guy is very charismatic on the mic, and he knows how to play his character well. About Seth Rollins being an architect, you don't really see that anymore. You just see him in the ring, knowing that he's with the Authority, and that's all the announcers talk about, but there's really nothing more for him to offer. So I really think that they're better off being together in the Shield, but with Roman Reigns being face, I'm starting to doubt that. But Roman Reigns still sucks on the mic. But honestly, that's my own personal thoughts about Roman Reigns going to go into the next video that I'm going to make. But let's move on from there. We got AJ Lee still feuding with Paige, but AJ Lee had a match with Eva Marie. You can say one thing about Eva Marie, but but that's going to be a whole separate thing, and I'm not going to rant too much about that. But I will say she had a match with Eva Marie. Eva Marie ended up winning, but it was all because of distraction from Paige. But Paige skipping around the ring, trying to mock AJ Lee, is getting boring really fast. This is one of the high-profile feuds in the Divas division that they actually could have capitalized on. Because these two women know submission holds. You don't see a lot of divas knowing submission moves. And these girls know submission moves, and they know how to execute them as well as counter them. So this could have been something they could have capitalized on. But they fell flat with this too. And you can tell. And now that Paige is a full-fledged heel, and now that AJ Lee is supposed to be a quasi-face, because I say quasi because she beat up Eva Marie right after the ring, like pretty much threw her right into the barriers and just beating the ever-loving crap out of her when she's supposed to be a face. That's why I say quasi, y'all. But besides all that, it was ridiculous. It was ridiculous. It's boring. I don't care much about the feud anymore. I just hope they bring the pain in the match at SummerSlam. That's all I have to say about that. But let's move on to another Divas style issues, whatever that's going on right now. And I say whatever because good grief, that was a whatever moment. Now, between Brie and Stephanie, there has been a lot of heat and a lot of hype going on with this entire match. They had a signing. They made this match so serious and so huge that they could not fail. They can't afford to fail. But what did they do? They went the Claire Lynch route. Now, who would have ever thought that WWE would actually steal from TNA the most ridiculous storyline that was ever in TNA history? They're going to put it on their storyline and try to make it big because Stephanie's in it. And boy, did it fall flat. The whole ridiculous cliche of having the early bride, I mean, they're still newlyweds, having the newlyweds, her newlywed husband cheat on her with a therapist, and saying that she's a cold fish. For crying out loud, been there, done that, got the freaking t-shirt, move on. But of course they didn't, and it kind of kept going with it. And then they had the arrest. They had Brie Bella arrested because she slapped the therapist at the beginning of the show. And she decided to press charges. Yeah. Way to hype up your feud, man. And then you're saying, we're going to finish this tonight. No! 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 You want to hype up SummerSlam. You don't want to give anybody ideas and you're going to finish it off tonight. That kind of lowers it. Come on now. But then Brie's coming out ready to fight and then she ends up getting arrested. It didn't work the same with Brie as it did with you. It was Stephanie. It was funny when Stephanie got arrested. And it was a classic when she got arrested. It didn't matter with Brie. It didn't. They really can't afford to mess this up. They just can't. The WWE has already lost 7% of their staff as well as the wrestlers that they actually cut. And they're losing money daily with this WWE network. They can't afford to fail. And that was an epic fail. Moving on from there. There were probably other matches in between that I didn't really much care about, but I will say that there is a few that I'm particularly interested in, and I'm hoping they actually do have an actual match at SummerSlam. The Miz and Dolph Ziggler. You got the show off versus the face, or whatever. I don't know, the moneymaker. And the moneymaker versus the show off. And I will say that that's an interesting feud in itself because these guys really have huge egos. I never really saw Dolph Ziggler as a face in the first place, but I will say that the guy actually has a really big ego, as well as The Miz having an even bigger ego. So it's kind of the battle of the egos. But these guys are really charismatic in the ring, and people kind of somewhat listen to them. More so Dolph than Miz, but they're really good in the ring, and I would love to see these guys go at it. But here's the most puzzling moment of the entire night. Bray Wyatt and Chris Jericho having a sit down when Michael Cole was dismissed by Bray Wyatt. The fact that these two were actually sitting down in a conference room and talking was odd in itself, because Bray Wyatt, an oddity at best, the most psychotic character that's ever been invented in the WWF, WWE universe to this day, had a sit down with Chris Jericho. And nobody got beat up. Yeah. And his minions weren't there either. Yeah. Way to go to promote the feud even more. Now I kind of understand you want to go the whole bizarre route with Bray Wyatt, but it seems like Bray Wyatt's words are now becoming empty. They had more meaning when he came out there and did cryptic messages outside in the ring, but having a sit down and talking to Chris Jericho made it look odd and off and just completely empty. There wasn't anything that Bray Wyatt said that made me interested in anything he had to say, because he did it at a sit down. And Chris Jericho dominated him, literally pretty much ripped him a new one for that whole segment. He ripped him a new one, made Bray Wyatt somewhat look bad, let alone second class, second rate compared to Chris. Seriously, I would have never thought that Bray Wyatt would be dominated this bad on the mic by Chris Jericho. And we all know how great of a talker Chris Jericho is, but that's just sad. Bray Wyatt needs to win more than Chris Jericho does. And if you want to be dominant, you got to make yourself look good on the mic, as well as on any kind of segment that you have between another wrestler. You got to have that heat. And Bray Wyatt was losing it. He really was. I'm hoping he don't at the match at SummerSlam, because he needs to win more than Jericho does. And I'm hoping that Jericho is able to put him over. But I don't know. It just didn't look good for him. But let's move on to the match of the night, and that was Randy Orton versus whatever opponent he had. Oh yeah, Sheamus, the U.S. champion. It's bad enough we don't really see enough of Sheamus, and the fact that he's a U.S. champion, for crying out loud, you would think they would treat him better, but no. He was pretty much jobbing to Randy Orton. That's just what it was. He was jobbing to Randy Orton. He could have had any other opponent. Any other opponent Kane could have picked. He picked the U.S. champ, which really makes the belt look cheap. It just does. It really just makes it, to me, in my opinion, that nobody really gives a crap about that belt. Like, at all. Period. But despite all that, I will say this. Randy Orton, of course, wins. Sheamus loses, making the belt look cheap, as well as Sheamus look cheaper. And it was just dumb. It really was dumb. No interruption from Roman Reigns. Nothing. You just had him to have a clean win. Yay! But let's move on from there to the main event of the night, which happens to be Hulk Hogan's birthday, his 61st birthday, with all these vignettes that they had of him and the legacy that he had from the 80s on up to now. They had all his friends come out, including his NWO buddies, Kevin Nash and Scott Hall, and it's nice to hear him being acknowledged as Scott Hall than Reza Ramon. But it was kind of cool for him to say, "Hey, oh!" You know, you gotta love that. But for me, the markout moment, of course, was when the Nature Boy, Ric Flair, came out. I love me some Nature Boy. Oh my gosh. And it was such a great moment for me to see him come out. And of course, we know one person that was probably marking out and falling out of their chairs in happy glee by seeing Mr. Wonderful, Paul Orndorff, with the best bicycle mustache ever, coming out there stealing kisses and stealing the crowd. It was good. It was good to see him out there. I have not seen that guy wrestle, and I'm not gonna lie, he was probably around when I wasn't even born yet. But I will say that the guy still has charisma, and I'm probably gonna go back and maybe watch some of his matches and see exactly who he used to be, well, who he still is now. But despite all that, it was nice seeing all the legends out there, including Roddy Piper, one of the best talkers in the 80s, still is to this day. It's nice to see all the legends out there, as well as everybody paying respect to them, being on the stage and clapping, which is always off to me. Honestly, in my opinion, it was nice. I really would have them in the back and just be happy, you know, shaking hands with them in the back instead of them being out there in the line. It's just awkward. It really is awkward and strange to see them all out there out front clapping for them. Not saying that they shouldn't, but it just looked weird. That's just me personally. But of course, after everything's said and done, you have Brock Lesnar come out there and confront the Hulk. And let's be real, Hulk Hogan could not go against Brock. He would break his hip, and that would be it for him. But it was cool to see John Cena go out there and be like, "Look, yo, come on, let's fight." And then Brock Lesnar, in the coolest heel fashion, just got out the ring and left. Much respect. Much respect for that. A lot more heat built up to this match. A lot more heat. But, y'all, my overall thoughts is this. The one issue that I had with Raw the entire night was that they put too much focus on one match for SummerSlam. They have multiple matches for SummerSlam that they really do need to build up better. They did great with Stephanie versus Brie, but they fell flat by stealing from TNA, thinking it would work for them because they're a bigger company, which it didn't. Then you got Paige versus AJ Lee falling flat, or flatter. And then you got other matches that are interesting, but they weren't hyped up enough. Not to mention that they wasn't hyped up enough for Roman Reigns versus Randy Orton. And that's supposed to be a match on SummerSlam card that wasn't hyped up at all. But y'all, I really don't know what direction they're going to have with SummerSlam. And I'm hoping that it would at least be able to make some of their money back. Because with the 7% cuts that they had, 7% of their staff as well as wrestlers gone, as well as their millions and multi-millions of dollars lost with the WWE Network, they can't afford to fail. They really can't. And it's acknowledged out there in pop culture, especially if you have Conan O'Brien making fun of you. You really can't afford to fail. Seriously. And you can't go by the seat of your pants when it came to the Attitude Era. It was just the right place at the right time for y'all. They can't really afford to go back to that. They have to start thinking of something fresh and new. And I'm hoping that SummerSlam will deliver this year. But you guys, I want to hear your opinions on your thoughts about Raw in general. Leave a comment in the comment section below and send me a video response to how you personally feel about Raw, as well as what you're going to do for SummerSlam, if you're going to watch it or not, and if you're interested. Or what matches that you really want to see, because I'm curious to know. Because honestly, y'all, they really can't afford to fail. And I'm hoping that SummerSlam will be a success, because I really do want to see them succeed. But that's just me personally. Nature Girl 30 signing off. Peace out, y'all. Later.